Okay, so we're talking about South Side of Heaven and Ryan Bingham's song, and we were just complaining, or we're talking about his pick technique that we don't want to try to emulate, but he's done it for enough years with bad technique that he's good at it, so it's not really hindering him at all. And then so the three chords are just G and C, both played with the two high notes on the whole time. So when he goes to C, he just moves these two fingers, right? Yeah, that's how he plays every C that I've seen so far or heard so far. And then he goes to E minor. The only other chord we've heard so far is E minor, which is kind of like the beginning of the chorus. And I think on the E minors these notes probably come off. I'll have to go listen again a little bit more carefully. And he ends up doing the E minor with these two fingers, kind of because that's what he's been using on the G's and the C's, and it's kind of reserving these ones for the high notes. But again, I'll go listen a little bit more carefully in just a second. So slowly, it's really just he hits that G in the bass, and then a down and an up, and then the hammer on, and the down and an up. Yeah.
Like that?
That's it. Yeah. And I didn't quite pick up the phrasing until he started singing because it seemed like in the beginning he kind of started on a G chord
Yeah.
and then started the G's and the C's back and forth. And at one point on the G, maybe it was on the C, he kind of dressed it up a little bit with a hammer on the third string as well on the C chord, I think,
On
when he
the
was on C.
yeah.
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 And he could have done the same thing on a G, the hammer on the fourth string.
All right.
So
Okay. Which was
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And once he started singing, he didn't mess around with that. It's like he kept it real basic. So this does remind me a little bit of some of my recollections of the Weary Kind, where it's fairly basic, but it is fast, and he's real smooth at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off as Doc Watson type virtuosity, but it's the perfect accompaniment for the cool song, for the song that he's singing there. So let me listen a little further, which might get us in trouble with YouTube when we actually, let me go back to the beginning. Okay, so he starts with the harmonica solo a little bit. There's the E minor. So I think on the E minor he did keep those two high notes on.
Okay.
And he tried to do something that he wasn't very successful at, and that was on the E minor. He tried to come in and do the hammer on the third string from the E minor position. Yeah, like he started the E minor with a hammer on the fifth string. Well, first is the bass, and the hammer-ons always happen well after a single bass note, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but when he's playing it instrumentally, he's getting a little fancier, and all he did here on the E minor was tried to come in with his first finger and hammer on the third string underneath his second finger, right? And then use the third string as just open as a regular note. But then he went to the C and did the same thing. Hit the C, then the hammer on the fourth string, then a hammer on the third string, and then probably the third string open. A lot of times that's what you would do, because what we're doing there is hammering on a note that is not part of the chord. We're hammering onto an A there on the C chord. So the logical thing to do there is then resolve that because that's a non-harmonic tone, meaning not part of the chord, right? So the musical thing to do is resolve it to the note that is in the chord, which would be the open G,
Right.
right? So that's why I think I heard this on those four bass notes on the C chord, and then sometimes the same thing on the G. Yeah, yeah. And whether he's consistent about doing that as the intro or not doesn't really matter too much. But what he did was kind of played through the progression um, the same way he's going to once the song, once he starts singing.
Yeah.
And then the verse is just four sets of C's and G's back and forth, right? So it's I think it could be half that much, but I'll slow it down a little bit. Then the chorus is that E minor stuff to C and back to the G. And usually two sets of that, the E minor, the C, and the G. Now, I don't know if you can hear this very well, but notice that when I'm playing that, the bass is really prominent. Like you can barely hear the strumming. The strumming is more percussive. It's not this. So I'm really soft on those strums, but I'm hitting the bass notes hard. But so the touch on and you just want to aim for like about the top three strings you want to make sure that you're not getting very many strings, especially anywhere near the bass notes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So try a little slower than what you just heard me do.
Hmm?
Just slow it down a little bit. Let me hear you do it.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah, and now try to get some soft ups in there after those downs too. So that's what I mean. Slow it down a little bit more because right there you were just doing bass down, bass down. We really need the down up sound.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a few ups in there, but not enough. So keep
Yeah.
working on getting that up after each down, right?
Yeah. 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 And that the difference between trying to make sure I'm getting the bass and be light on the up down. That's
Yeah, and that could be a slightly lower priority until the accuracy is improves. Till you're hitting the bass notes comfortably, and then especially that you're getting that up in there. The up is really important, but it's also kind of important that it's barely there. That it's that you can. It's like I have to listen to see if you
right.
hit it or not. That's what we want in there.
Right.
So really, really soft on the ups. Oh, and you can kind of emphasize that by going ahead and hitting the down fairly hard. Like put a little extra, punch into the down, so that then the up is real soft because you're kind of like just heading back to the bass note.
Okay.
Yeah. Try that again on either chord.
Okay. Yeah, I got.
Yeah. But so that's the technique. Let me go. Let me listen a little further and see if anything else unusual happens. Let me listen to like a whole verse.
When I die alone, won't you put my soul up on a train?
So yeah, this is basically 4 measures each of G. This is C
Give it up, blues man.
to G. C again. And again, it should be 4 sets of these per verse, which means you should have one more.
Losing faith in
Yeah.
my family has driven me out of my damn mind.
Here should come the E minor
But on the south side of the hill,
to C to 4 Gs. And again
'cause I've been gone
to the C,
so long. It's getting too cold.
back to G. Maybe a short little break. And 2 sets of these would be like the normal little interlude. That's again just the C's and the G's.
Been a desperado in
Now he's
West
into the
Texas
second
so
verse.
long. Hell, I need a change, man. For 10 long years, this place ain't seen a drop of rain. And that wind blows every day like a desert snow.
Oh, now it looks like this is quite long, to like 7 minutes, which means they must bring in some solos or something.
It does. Yeah, there's going to be a.
This should be the E minor, the chorus.
On the south side of heaven, take me home. I've been gone for so long, it's getting cold. On the south side of heaven,
This is just repeating the chorus.
take me home.
Should be another line.
I've
Yeah.
been gone for so long, it's getting cold.
And now we're ready for something else. Right, so now we got a violin solo over the verse, right? So this is still just the C's and the G's. Can you hear that? Oh, that time he went to E minor, so he's gone right into the chorus here. To keep it balanced, he should do the E minor part here. Ah. Okay, let me pause it for a second. So are you following the progression there, like what I'm talking about? Are you hearing that?
Yeah.
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 And so, obviously, he's going to go into a little different mood right here with bringing it all grinding to a halt. But that short violin solo, it was a combination. It was like one phrase out of the verse, the 4 C's and 4 G's,
Yeah.
and then one phrase out of the chorus. He went to E minor, C,
See.
G,
Yeah.
and then ran through that sequence twice before he went to the next time he got to E minor. This whole thing came to a halt on the E minor.
Right.
Right. And now they're going into some maybe spacey or jam or something like that, right?
Ease up.
Ah.
In Louisiana byway,
Oh.
Colorado highways, roll on. Won't you take me where the poor
Okay, so what's going on now? This is C and G again, but now he's playing them. Now he's just playing them as, I mean, they've changed the whole rhythm, right?
Right.
It's kind of gotten a little laid back and stuff. And now he's just playing regular C's and G's, not those ones with the two high notes.
Okay.
Not that that's a big deal, but the rhythm has changed. Let me listen again.
Can't you see that a breeze is nothing but a change in pace?
So, yeah, so he kind of changed the rhythm into this more. And then a G. So he stopped, he's not doing much. Well, once in a while, he still throws a hammer on in the middle of that. But the biggest thing here is the beats have slowed down, and we're starting with a big stroke. We're really emphasizing beat one. And so, kind of like in the first half of each, depends on what we want to call a measure here, we really just hear strong downs on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? There are a lot of ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, filling out the next 4 beats.
Right.
Right? And then those 4 beats, those 8 beats are just done again. Right? So that's we still have 4 measures of C and 4 measures of G. And my guess is he might even go into the chorus now, going with the whole E minor thing and sing the same line, "The South Side of Heaven," with this same just slower beat.
Yeah. At some point here, and I'm not sure exactly where. At some point, he's going to actually ramp the rhythm up the other way.
I completely, yeah, I could see that because you want to end it with a bang. So, but it's like 7 minutes of that would be too much for the audience, of that. But so bringing it down and kind of mellowing it out means, you could sort of build it up like a train coming down the tracks or something, and get back to the breakneck speed that he started at the beginning, and that would make it compelling for the whole like 7 minutes instead of it just being all of the same thing, So let me listen a little further. That's the C, right?
'Cause it comes from a hard-earned place.
Right.
On the side of heaven, would you take me? Sun on the skin and gold. On the side of heaven, take me home. I've been gone so long, the skin and gold.
And then here, he's kind of just keeping the C's and the G's going back and forth throughout this solo, and he's not even doing any of those fancy bass notes because you wouldn't even hear him over this violin solo. It's kind of so he's just flailing away on the C's and the G's and playing them normally, not the other way, while the fiddler here shows off. Yeah, now it's the guitar player's turn to shred a little bit.
Right.
So how you got everybody in the band ready to do this? But anyway, but it's still this still be a great song for you to work on and just kind of get that technique down and maybe even sing it. You know, it might fit in there. um, because it sounds like now it's even faster than it was in the beginning. It sounds like they've cranked it up even a little bit more
Yeah, yeah,
than
yeah,
the
yeah.
beginning, and so yeah, that's definitely a cool effect, and it's real typical of bluegrass type stuff.
Yeah. Is this when we're playing these C's and G's here? Um, so we're playing a G with a D on the top here,
Right. Instead of what would normally be there,
a B.
which is what part of the chord?
Um, it's the third.
Yeah. And most of the time when people play this chord, we do have another B. Where?
Right here.
Right. But if that string is dead, a lot of times people play this chord and intentionally kill that string, so there is no B at all in this chord. And and even then, even if you hear that B in the bass, it's this chord is really dominated by the sound and the fact that we don't hear the third very well. It's really just roots and fifths.
Uh-huh.
And so sometimes people will even just call this a G5 to distinguish it from the normal G that has the B open.
Okay.
And and the designation five in the names of chords is something we also call a power chord. I don't know if we've talked about this at all,
Slightly.
but okay. So a power chords are typically played with only two notes on the sixth and or fifth string. But it would be like the sixth string. Like here's how I'd play a G power chord. I'd play the G here with my first finger and the D on the fifth string with my third finger.
Okay.
On the fifth string,
Oh, fifth ring.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
there.
And then I would just play those two notes. Yeah. So you might even like put an anchor down here so you can take a really small stroke at it and just get those two strings. Yeah. And you could even have this finger leaning on the fourth string so that if you hit the fourth string, it's dead. Yeah. And so one of the first things I teach, especially kids, is to play power chords like this. There are tons of songs that revolve around them, like this. And so right there, I was starting on A, so I was up at the fifth fret,
Yeah.
and then moving it to D, which would be at the same fret, just on the other string,
Right.
and then moving that D up to E, and then back to D, and we have kind of like the basic pattern for Louie Louie out of that,
Right.
you know. And so a lot of times that's a great thing for beginners to learn, before they can even play it. A D chord or a G chord or any of that other stuff is just figure out that learn this two finger position,
Yeah.
and then you can play stuff like or so see all of those chords have an unusual sound because there is no third in them. They've got this kind of hollow sound, and you can just move them around. So that's what we get in this G chord. If I strum it like that, now what I'm doing is I'm killing the fifth string
Yeah.
with my second finger, and I'm not even pressing it down here. So there is no B in this chord now, right? Let's hear that. Yeah.
Are
Again.
you pulling the second string too?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So it's kind of a subtle difference in sound, but now take your third finger off, put the B back in there. You hear that there's a little more richness to that chord, or a little more.
Yeah.
It's fuller harmony. That when the B isn't there, it sounds a little empty.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's the sound he's going for, in this. Except that he is hammering on the B. So we're not hearing this completely, but we're hearing when he strums, we're only hearing those high notes, those high three strings, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
So
go ahead.
if I was gonna write this out, um, it's gonna be those four measure phrases.
Yeah. And so the verse s- starts on C. So it's four measures of C and
Yeah.
four measures of G.
Right.
And then it's those eight measures done four times,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then we get into the chorus, which is two measures of E minor,
Right.
two measures of C, and four measures of G. And that whole series of eight measures done twice. So the chorus is two sets of the E minor C G stuff.
Okay. And in the verse, that's where we're hammering on the on three, right? We're
Yeah.
hammering on three, and on both the C and the D, and then in the E minor in the chorus, are we hammering on that or
Yeah, he doesn't do it consistently, but I would do it on the fifth string, on the second bass note.
okay, 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 and then at what point did we bring in the
He only did that on the E minor in the introduction.
okay,
So let's not worry about that too much just yet, especially on the E minor because that it just didn't sound very good when he tried it. But he did on the G and the C do hit the first bass note like the G and the let me if I was talking on a C chord, in the first measure you'd have a C in the bass on beat one, and the
right,
hammer on from D to E on beat three.
right,
And when he's doing this in the intro, in a second measure of C, he does something different. Like in the first beat, he would hammer on the third string from G to A,
okay,
and then on the third beat would just hit an open G.
okay,
So that would be this. I'll do this really slowly. So if I'm singing, I'm just going to be doing this on the C's. There are my four measures of C followed by my four measures of G. But if I want to make it fancier because I'm not singing, I would do this on the C. And maybe the same thing on G. Oops. And I think I'd have to go back and watch the intro again because when he did that in the intro, he may have shortened up to where he's only doing two measures of each chord. It might have been something like this. Which is, I think, half as long as he's doing when he's singing. So, but probably with that kind of warning and outline, you could go back and watch what he's doing and then figure it out better now. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, okay, okay,
yeah,
well, that's okay,
yeah, that's pretty cool. And then work a little bit too on the strumming along with him in the slower part, because again, the whole rhythm changed to this. And that's a common type of strumming pattern to do. It's a two measure pattern, right? It's really, we're doing something that's two measures long, where the first measure just has heavy accents or accents on beats one and three. And the second measure has almost no accents at all. It's really just in there filling in time, particularly starting with an up and not hitting beat one. Let me do it on C. So if I was counting that, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. No down on that 1 because the up kind of like took its place.
Right,
The
right.
up that would be on the and of 4,
The
right?
up is on the and of 4, and then miss the 1 on down.
Right. And then you really need another up, like then you need kind of like the and of 1 and down on 2.
Right.
That down was beat 2 of the second measure.
Okay.
Another song that you probably know that we might want to mess with someday that that this is the strum I'd use in it is Melissa, the Allman Brothers tune. Crossroads seem to come and go. Anyway, that's not exactly what Greg Allman does in that, but it's a really good pattern. It works really well for that song. He does something even a little simpler.
Okay. Melissa. Okay. She's on the list over here.
And the other thing that's kind of cool about Melissa is you may have noticed unusual sounding chords. You
Yeah.
know, because there are a bunch of chords that have open strings on all in all of them. So it starts with an E, and the first 3 chords, basically you're only going to play notes on those 3 strings, and you're going to leave the first, second, and sixth strings open. And the second chord, if we think of E as looking like this, the second chord is F sharp minor. If you were to play a regular full F sharp minor, you'd put a bar at the second and play these 2 fingers here. But you just play the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings. So your first finger, you'd slide that up 1 fret, but then the other fingers go up 2 frets. I mean, 1 more fret. So switch it to your 3rd and 4th fingers. Yeah, that's the second chord shape. And then the third one is that same shape, 2 frets higher. And then back. The second one, yeah. All the way back to 2. Second fret.
2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Can you hear it? I mean, they're cool sounds, huh?
Yeah.
So I try to have students think of those chords as when I'm in this shape, I'm in the E major shape.
Yep.
When I come up here, I'm in the minor shape because, yeah, just at the 2nd and 4th frets though. Too far. Too far. Yeah.
Okay.
You see how that's kind of a reduction of our full minor,
Yeah.
and then it just goes up another 2 frets, stays in that same minor shape, and then back. And eventually, after a little bit, well, not eventually, like in a couple more measures, something similar happens out of the A chords. It goes to A major,
Uh-huh.
and then goes up to B minor, but only playing those same 3 strings, meaning no bar necessary. You go into an A minor shape, 1 fret higher than that. Because if it were B minor, the bar would be at 2.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it goes up another 2 frets, and then back. Yeah. And then it goes back to the E chords and does the same thing again. I mean, yeah. And to the F sharp minor look, right? And the G sharp minor look. And then back to the F sharp minor. And then there are only 2 more chords in the whole thing. It goes to C major 7.
Oh, here.
Let me hear it. Yeah, strum it. Yeah, with one exception. He adds G in the bass. So he's got 3 fingers on. Yeah. And then to B7. A full normal B7 chord. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So actually, let me play through that whole thing once for you, because this you might end up liking to work on this, you know. So we got the E, crossroads to the F sharp minor, seem to come G sharp minor, back to the F sharp minor again. It starts again E, to the F sharp minor, and then it diverts to the A sets of chords, and they change twice as fast. Then the E ones again at that speed. And then the C major 7 with G in the bass. Da, 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 B7 do, 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 to sweet Melissa. Anyway, but you might have fun messing with that too because the chords are so unusual, you know?
Yeah, no, I like that. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And there's actually another song that does almost the exact same thing. Sandy Denny, I don't know if you know this song, Who Knows Where the Time Goes. Have you ever
Oh,
heard that?
sure.
Yeah. It's almost the same progression. They're almost the same song. So if you want to, and I have lessons on both of them, you know, so you might take a look at both of those because they do. And I go a lot further into like the theory of these chords and things like that in them a little bit too. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well,
that should keep you busy for the rest of the year.
all 12 hours that are left here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
safe and sane here, I think. Great. Well, that's great. That is fun. Um,
So, well,